So, just in case you're not aware, um, the show How I Met Your Mother is one of my favorite shows. It's also one of my comfort shows as well. I've seen the show about, I'd say, 6 times already. Either I'm on my sixth rewatch or on my seventh rewatch of the show, and I don't quite remember which one I'm on. Now, why am I talking about this? It's because recently, Hulu has decided to add, or actually rather not add, I mean create a sequel series that is in the same universe as the first series, but none of the casts have really any correlation to the cast from the previous. And thus we have How I Met Your Father, which, unlike How I Met Your Mother, which seemed to really get its footing within the first, I'd say, 4 episodes of the first season, this show seems to be having trouble with character chemistry. Now, that doesn't mean that the season can't find its footing. It still very well can. It's just that it needs to find what makes each character funny, and then give each character their role, as well as not just that though, but as well as making the dialogue and the conversation flow naturally. Because I think that's one aspect about How I Met Your Mother that has over so far How I Met Your Father is the fact that the flow of conversation between the 5 main characters seems to just go naturally. Albeit sometimes, actually a lot of time, you can tell it's, written dialogue. But there are instances where it feels very natural. Just like the conversations in Parks and Recreation and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Two other shows I really love. And so, I'm thinking of covering this show per episode. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Or, you might not see me again talk about this show until the season 1 finale. Which then I will go over the season in its entirety, go over which characters I think have the most blow up, which characters I think they kind of could do without, and am I looking forward to season 2? That is, of course, if Hulu decides to renew the story for season 2. I do think there are a couple good funny points within the show itself. I think the one thing that's really holding the show back is the fact that the show starts off in the year that we're living in. Really, the show should have started in like 2017, 2018. I think that's when the show should have started with, the mother talking about her love life in the past. That way, we can see the show go through, the years before the pandemic, and then see the characters and how they're going through the pandemic as well. And also seeing how, each character reacts to the many different things that's happened between 2018 and now. Also, it would be nice if the show didn't have everybody on the same page, per se, and had to be where there were conflicting ideologies, not just in dating, but also in music, politics, religion, all of that. And that could still happen. I just don't know how they're going to uh, make upcoming years, if the show lasts, that long, how they're going to say, oh, this is what happened in 2023 or 2024, and so on and so forth. Or is this all going to take place in just 2022? Because possibly the show might think that it's being innovative by going into a unforeseen future, which maybe it will, or maybe it won't. Yeah. So let's talk about the characters real quick. First, we got our main character, Sophie, who is basically our Ted for this story, as she's telling her son about how she met his father. Now, we already know that she has told him the layman version, meaning that she's told him, how they met, what happened, blah, blah, blah. However, she never told him the unabridged version. And there's one part, I think it was the first episode, where she mentions that she's going to end up dating and sleeping with a lot of different guys, which I thought that was pretty funny because she's just upfront about that. While Ted just kept telling his two kids, it's like, hey, this is going to lead to your mother eventually. But she's like, this will lead to your father, but it's going to take a while. So that was a pretty good inside joke right there. Sophie's a decent character so far. She has the same kind of romantic view as Ted does, believing in true love. But something about her doesn't quite have the same Ted feel. Yet, that is. Not the same dorkiness or pizzazz. Then again, I might just be biased because, it's Ted. And who knows, maybe Sophie can become one of my favorite TV characters, like Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation. Another great series, by the way. Other characters you see, you got Jesse, who is a music teacher. I don't know where Jesse falls right now. I'm thinking Jesse is more like the Robin of the story, where you can kind of see that Sophie likes him, but Sophie's not trying to pursue him. Unlike Ted, who has tried to pursue Robin so much so that it got fucking annoying. Then you have Sid, who is Jesse's friend. And Sid is already in a committed relationship. Now, this is interesting because Sid and Hannah, we actually don't get to see Hannah all too much. Because the relationship is long distance, and the two are, they're going to get married at some point. I'm thinking that their wedding will probably end up being a season finale at some point down the line. Sid's aspect is showing us the hell of being in a long-distance relationship. Then you have the character Valentina, who is Sophie's friend, and also Valentina's boyfriend, Charlie. Valentina and Charlie, I don't really get their dynamic. I really don't. And so far, Charlie is probably the most boring character on the show, which is sad because Charlie could actually become the X Factor. He could literally become the Barney Stinson of the show. I'm not saying that Charlie should become a pervert and constantly hit on women. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, if Charlie gets back into, his money, he can basically get the whole entire crew into doing wacky ass shenanigans. Think of it as a Frank Reynolds kind of thing, but in a more of an upper class kind of situation, which, bring a bunch of middle class individuals into higher upper class like dinner parties and such and foremost or whatever. Wow, I think I just made a word up, huh? Foremost. Those kind of awkward situations could, I don't know, liven the show up. Then you got Ellen. Now, Ellen's whole deal is that she's a lesbian. No problem with that. Except right now, Ellen really doesn't have a personality. To me, Ellen feels like a filler character. Like, they just have her say lines. I think the first time I really felt that she's actually starting to become a real character is in the 3rd episode. But it's just very minimal of what I felt. I'm hoping that Ellen gets the biggest gas up in the show. Because a character should be more than their sexual orientation. That's how I feel. So I think I covered everybody. All 6 main characters of the show. Or 7 if you want to include Hannah. But I don't really include Hannah because, to me, Hannah is probably going to end up being a more of a secondary character like Carl the bartender was in the 1st series. Now, there are a few things. Actually, there's one thing about the show that hooked me immediately, and that was the fact that Sid and Jesse share the original apartment. Yes, the apartment that at first was, Ted, Marshall, and Lily's, ended up being Ted's apartment, ended up being Marshall and Lily's apartment, where almost everybody lived in that apartment at one point in time. And I'm thinking the same might happen with this show as well, where characters will end up living in that apartment. Probably not all at once, of course, but there'll be a flow of characters going in and out of that place. That's just what I think. Alright, so I won't talk too much more about the show because, like I said, I do want to make another video about this. I might do a video for episode 4, or I might just wait until the season is done. Which would you guys prefer? You guys prefer weekly reviews, or would you guys prefer just an overall seasonal review once the season has completed? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up. That way the YouTube algorithm will know that my content is worth watching, as well as leave a comment about, the show. Do you like it? Do you think it has promise? Do you think it has potential? And also, let me know what your favorite sitcom is. Yeah. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure that bell is a ring-a-ding-dingin'. That way you know when I put out a new video. Alright, I'll chat with you guys later.